Right now, somewhere in your body, a small alarm is running. You feel it when a text goes unanswered for too long. You feel it when a room goes quiet after you speak. You feel it when you scroll past a photo and notice you weren't invited. It feels small. It is not small. That alarm is older than fire. It is older than language. And for most of human history, it was more dangerous than a lion. Because the thing your ancestors feared most was never death itself. It was being left to face death alone. Here's the strange part. A human body on its own is almost useless. No claws, no fangs, no fur thick enough for a cold night, slow legs, soft skin. Compared to almost every predator on the savannah, an individual human was fragile in nearly every way that mattered. So how did this fragile animal survive? Not through strength, through numbers. A human alone was prey. A human inside a group was something else entirely. This is where the fear begins to make sense. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy has spent decades studying early human child rearing, and her research points to something surprising. Human infants were raised cooperatively, and not by one mother alone, but by a network. Aunts, grandmothers, older siblings, unrelated group members. Hrdy calls this alloparenting, and it shows up almost nowhere else among great apes. A chimpanzee mother rarely lets another female near her infant. A human mother, across nearly every documented hunter-gatherer society, hands her baby to someone else within hours of birth. Why does that matter? Because a species that raises its young through shared care is a species that cannot survive exile. If you were cast out of the group, you didn't just lose companionship. You lost your entire support system for food, defense, and child rearing all at once. Banishment wasn't a social inconvenience. It was closer to a death sentence with a delay. Your brain still knows this. It just doesn't know the lions are gone. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar built an entire theory around this dependency. He proposed that human brains grew so large, not primarily to solve mechanical problems like tool use, but to solve social ones. Tracking who owes you a favor, remembering who betrayed whom, predicting who might turn against you next. Dunbar's research suggests the human neocortex expanded largely to manage relationships within a group because keeping your place inside that group was, quite literally, a matter of survival. The size of your social circle wasn't a lifestyle choice, it was a security system. So think about what that means for a moment. Your ability to read a room, your instinct to notice when someone's tone shifts toward you, your discomfort when you're the only one who didn't laugh at the joke. None of that is oversensitivity. It's inherited hardware built across hundreds of thousands of years for a world where the wrong glance from the group could end you. Now here's where it gets stranger. Modern neuroscience has found that this isn't just a metaphor. It isn't just emotional pain in some vague poetic sense. Social psychologist Naomi Eisenberger conducted brain imaging studies using a simple digital ball-tossing game where participants believed they were playing with two other real people online. Partway through, the other players stopped passing the ball. No explanation, no insult, just silence. What Eisenberger found was remarkable. The brain regions that lit up during this small, harmless exclusion were the same regions that activate during physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex, the same circuitry involved in the sting of a burn or the ache of an injury. Your brain, it turns out, does not clearly distinguish between I am hurt and I am alone. To your oldest neural systems, those two threats are treated almost identically. Doesn't that reframe things? The heartbreak after a breakup, the sting of being left out of a group chat, the dread before walking into a room where you suspect you're not wanted. That isn't weakness. That is a 500,000-year-old alarm system doing exactly what it evolved to do. It just hasn't been updated to know that exile no longer means starvation. Consider how differently this shows up depending on the era. In a small hunter gatherer band, a single act of exclusion could ripple through your entire chance at survival. No one to share meat with after a bad hunt, no one to watch your back while you slept, no one to help carry a child while you searched for water. Group membership wasn't a preference, it was infrastructure. Today, you are almost never at risk of literal starvation because a friend stopped replying, and yet your body reacts as though you are. Your palms sweat before a difficult conversation. Your stomach tightens before you hit send on a message you're not sure will be well received. Your mind replays a small, awkward moment from years ago at 2 in the morning as if it were still an emergency. It still feels like an emergency to a part of your brain that has never left the savannah. There's a reason this fear became so deeply wired rather than just mildly uncomfortable. Traits that strongly increase survival get amplified across generations, while traits that only mildly help tend to fade. A slight aversion to being alone wouldn't have been enough. Early humans needed something powerful, something that could override logic, override hunger, override even the instinct toward independence. Ostracism needed to feel unbearable because in the ancestral environment, it very nearly was. This is also why belonging feels so good. Being chosen, being included, being laughed with instead of at. Those moments trigger reward circuitry in the brain, not because modern life has made us shallow or needy, but because inclusion once meant something closer to a guaranteed tomorrow. So, what does this mean for you? Walking through a world of crowded cities and endless notifications, a world your ancestors could never have imagined. It means the ping of a like on a photo, the silence after a message goes unread, the sting of not being invited. All of it is your ancient alarm system, firing in an environment it was never built for. The threat is gone. The wiring remains. And maybe that changes how you look at your own reactions. The anxiety before a social gathering, the relief when someone remembers your name, the disproportionate hurt from a small slight. None of it is irrational. It's ancestral. You are not broken for feeling it deeply. You are carrying forward the exact instinct that kept your entire lineage alive long enough to produce you. Which brings the question back to where it started. What did ancient humans actually fear more than death? Not the lion in the grass, not the fall from a cliff, not the long winter with too little food. They feared the quiet moment when the group turned away, because that quiet moment meant all of those other deaths became far more likely. And that fear never left. It just changed its shape. It used to sound like the crack of a branch outside the fire at night. Now it sounds like a message left unread.